I didn't like Himmel. I wasn't a fan of Himmel, but I definitely see the lessons that he. Well, not even. I'm gonna be honest. I don't even think he was necessarily attempting to impart lessons on Frieren. He was just saying things he believed, and they came off as lessons to a person who's lived of hundreds of years. You know?
Oh my god, it's Plush Poppy!
Yeah. Well, go on, chat. If you don't know who I
Oh
am
my god, it's Plush Poppy!
in the flesh, and welcome to Plush City, where we react to all things anime, animation, and sometimes gaming. Today, we're going to be reacting to When a Scene is More Tragic Than You Realized. I'm assuming this is about the Frieren anime, and I thought, what better way to start my first video than with an anime that's very close to my heart. The video is by Pay Talks Anime, so let's get into it.
Sometimes great stories not only hold up, but are enhanced by a second viewing. Now, I don't think added depth in a rewatch is a prerequisite for a story to be good, but the shows that stick with me the longest in the most impactful ways tend to do it. I was first introduced to Frieren through discussion on the internet surrounding its first episode. While people talked about things like how the premise was an interesting subversion of storytelling structure, or the general quality of the show, the thing I saw talked about the most was the emotional impact.
No, for sure. I feel like and obviously people have probably said this before, but there are so many anime about the journey, you know, about the team coming together and having to, I was about to say surmount unsurmountable odds, but I guess that makes sense, to get to the point where the Frieren anime takes place, you know? And the funniest part is, the reason that Frieren is so relatable is because so many anime viewers are actually in a very, well, what do I do now that I'm an adult vibe, you know? And that's very much so what the Frieren people are the stages they're in. Like, okay, I've done the big thing, which to us would be becoming an adult, but to them is like killing the Demon King. And it's like, what do I do now, you know?
Which is interesting because when I watched it, it didn't really hit. I was absolutely engaged and intrigued by the entire approach, but when the emotional climax of the episode hit, I wasn't really invested in the characters. While the first episode of Frieren is similar, its approach is drastically different. Instead of selling this deep connection between characters that will lead to a tragic loss, it does the inverse. She's cold and uninvested in her previous relationships. But after you've seen this series and are invested in the characters and the relationships, the first episode hits in a completely different way.
Which is very, how do I put it? It's very risky. It's very risky to have your first episode be all the characters being super emotional and the viewer not really knowing why and having to invest themselves into the rest of the show to actually understand the weight of what these characters are going through. But I think that just all comes down to Frieren respecting the audience enough, not only like the new audience that's going to show up, but the manga readers who already loved the manga, respecting them enough to be like, they're going to be along for the ride, because what we have is a great story and it's worth it, you know? Oh my god. Nigga, no. No, nigga. No. Oh my god.
So there are many different types of stories that are different in repeat viewings. The most obvious examples are ones that are built around twists. Things like The Sixth Sense, where everything is recontextualized when you find out a piece of information at the end. Those are cool and interesting, but not exactly what I'm talking about here. With Frieren, the first time you're watching it, a twist isn't purposely being withheld. It's actually kind of a different story the second time around. And to understand that, we should first look at death scenes.
Okay, so up till this point, there hasn't been spoilers. And I probably should have did a spoiler warning at the beginning of the video, but I'm sure they're coming now. If you don't want to be spoiled for Frieren, which has been out for not a long time, but a long enough time for everyone to have seen it. If you don't want spoilers, please stop here.
Characters dying in media is nothing new to stories. Deaths are often reserved for major emotional moments and beats in a story, often climax.
Bro, this shit scared me. I thought it was another Skillshare ad. I'm fucking weak.
like the finale, but sometimes they're used as inciting incidents, like in Frieren. But pretty consistently, for a character death to hit, there has to be some sort of investment and attachment. I think Frieren very deliberately built characters around cookie-cutter tropes, and they eventually subvert those in really interesting ways. But because that, it took me about 3 episodes to really start to be invested. But by the time I got to...
Which is the minimum, I feel like. If you're actually interested in a show, I feel like 3 episodes is or if you want to give a show a chance, I feel like 3 episodes is the minimum you should give it. You know, all the animators for fucking Jujutsu Kaisen are sitting in a basement somewhere, surviving on fucking Cheeto dust and 1 Capri Sun, you know? So I feel like the most we can do is like, or the least we can do rather, is give them 3 episodes to see if it's something that we really fuck with.
The first time I watched episode 1, the writing was really effective. A major theme in the story is how disconnected Frieren is due to her nature as an everlasting elf. It's actually the first video I ever made about Frieren, exploring the idea of what would it really be like to live forever. The story starts after the hero's journey. The characters briefly reminisce about their adventures. And
I'm gonna be honest, how do I feel? I'm gonna be honest, I feel like if you see how Frieren was raised, she was always kind of an unfeeling person. But then again, I don't really know how old she was when we saw her as a child. Because there's some scenes later in the show where we see her with her teacher as a child, but she could have very well been like 23 at the time or some shit, or like 40 or 50, you know? So what I was gonna say was, it kind of depends on the kind of person you are, you know? Like, I do agree to a certain extent, the longer you're alive, the more unfeeling you probably become to death and things that require shortness of time. But I also think it's a bit of a nature versus nurture thing, you know? Because the elf guy that they meet, the hero elf guy that they meet at the cabin in the snow place, he wasn't as cold and unfeeling as Frieren tends to come off. I think it has a lot more to do with how Frieren was raised and the magic people she was raised around, them also being unfeeling people. And also them not spending as much time around humans as she did, you know?
I don't think there's a lot of time given to the audience to really get connected, especially with Frieren as the point of view protagonist. I actually think that's the point. The information we're given in the story is run through the lens of Frieren's kind of perspective of the world. Kind of like when a book is written in third-person limited omniscience, but you can tell just how much the main character's perspective influences the prose. This story is all about Frieren recontextualizing her previous journey with a new one, showcasing all the lessons that she failed to notice the first time around. A really fitting theme given what I'm arguing today. Losing Himmel the second time hurts so bad, because the writing in the first season does such a good job of making you fall in love with his character. He's charming, vain, heroic, and flawed.
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't like Himmel. I wasn't a fan of Himmel, but I definitely see the lessons that he... Well, not even... I'm gonna be honest, I don't even think he was necessarily attempting to impart lessons on Frieren. He was just saying things he believed, and they came off as lessons to a person who's lived of hundreds of years, you know? But yeah, I of all the characters, I feel like Himmel probably actually got the least development of everyone. But that's also because we don't get to see him in Frieren's journey. We only ever see him in like flashbacks and stuff like that. So I wasn't necessarily in love with Himmel as a character, but I can see to a certain extent what Frieren saw in him to a certain extent. I don't necessarily understand why she was in love with him, but I kind of get it.
A man seemingly obsessed with leaving a legacy, who loves doing small acts of heroism as much as the big ones. He's a beautifully deep and complex character that's explored really well throughout the first season. There's so much...
Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I need to watch it a second time. I feel like he's fleshed out in a general sense of like what he would do in certain situations. I don't feel like we necessarily understand his motivations, but hey, maybe it's the second watch that makes you understand it better.
That's part of what makes this experience of watching the second time around so peculiar. For me, it was also something I stumbled into, not realizing how much it would impact me. Because the most emotional moments that Frieren has throughout the entire first season happen in the first 2 episodes.
You know what it might be? A lot of the introspection and stuff that we get about the dwarf and the cleric are a lot of the information I got about them were directly from them. And maybe I just see the information that Frieren sees as that Frieren gives us as flashbacks to be a little bit more idealized. Does that make sense? And maybe that's why I see the dwarf and cleric and Frieren as more developed rather than the hero because we almost exclusively hear about him through flashbacks.
It'd be easy to assume that the primary reason Hyder pushed so much for Fern to go on an adventure with Frieren was to provide for just Fern. But I think he could see that it might serve both ways.
Yes.
This beautiful story told in such a short amount of time, with this melancholy, happy, sad tragedy where Frieren's trying to insist that Fern learn the lesson that she just did. It really functions as this beautiful bookend to the first season, a fantastic start to this story, and a delicate ending to another. 2 episodes that feel completely new when you watch them again.
Damn. That was a good video. I definitely gotta check out more stuff from Pei. I think I may definitely have to take a second look at Frieren to see if there was anything that I didn't necessarily catch the first time. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend you check it out. Frieren is an incredible anime. It's definitely, damn, I don't really even like making lists, but it's definitely like top 50, and I've seen a lot of anime. The funny thing about Frieren was like, I thought it was just gonna be Frieren and Fern because in all of the promotional material, in all the fan art and everything, it's only Frieren and Fern. But there's literally a bunch of other characters who show up. But the red-haired guy, and then they gain like another priest for a little bit. The main story is about Fern and Frieren, but there are definitely other characters who make this story so much more enjoyable. I think that's a good place to end it. Consider following your boy on socials down there. I'm also gonna leave my MyAnimeList down there. If you guys want to compare dicks, I guess. That's a crazy way to put that. But it's been...
Oh my god, it's Plush Poppy.
This has been Plush Poppy. Signing off.
You can take all of your shit and just pack up. She give me head that she pass out. Niggas be happy cause they ran the track hook. We just be blessing the track out. I got the cheese number 1 but the mag out. Life is a movie, we fuck, she black out. Lil' Timmy gon' hit me to tag and we jump off the rope and that bitch she tap out.